Okay, everybody, we finally got it fixed. Got it figured out. Had to download the app. So, it's been a while since we've done a live stream. Thanks to everybody who was waiting. Really do appreciate it. We've got Devin Krueger. Most of you guys probably know who he is. I mentioned him on my channel a lot, and he's a pretty big helmet aficionado. We have a lot of like intersectionality subjects where we know a lot of the same things, but he also knows a shitload of stuff that I don't, and vice versa. So we kind of are pooling our resources to talk about our greatest passion, helmets, and we'll bring you a live stream. All right, introductions over. Oh, little disclaimer. If you're a douchebag troll in the comments, you're just gonna get banned. So don't just, I mean, you can be funny, you can do all that stuff. Just don't be an asshole straight up. I'm not gonna tolerate it, so don't be surprised. Anyway,
I mean, unless they're talking about my shitty mustache.
Well, that's definitely not off limits. Like that's actually encouraged. Like that thing is Jesus.
Oh, come on. We're both historical people. Why not?
Well, I'm just jealous I can't grow a fucking stash to save my life.
Oh, man. This is like 3 weeks of prime cultivation here.
Yeah. So we're going to kind of talk tonight about we're going to talk tonight kind of about like the early helmets, like I was talking about in a couple of videos ago, about like the 1915 Adrian, the 1916 and then subsequent 17 Brody helmets. Actually, the first one was the Brody helmet. The rest of them were just kind of adaptations of his. But and then the Stahlhelm, of course. And it's not like a bigger dick, which was better, you know. Oh, my Stahlhelm. We all know.
Well, they all fulfilled their purpose that they needed to make. So
yeah, at the time, it's like, you know. So you've got people dying of like shit getting thrown up in the air 200, 300 feet, dropping down at terminal velocity, like, you know, a 2-pound chunk of rock or dirt. Yeah, it's going to put a big dent in your skull, and you're probably not going to be able to recover from that. So what's the solution?
Well, it also comes down to, you know, the thing is, World War I was kind of the first war where there wasn't actually, the battle wasn't over in a day. That was like the first war where the battles weren't over in a day. Like, you'd go fight for an afternoon, and then people would go back to their camp. So it came down to a battle of resources. So especially when it came down to helmets, it's how much can each unit cost and still provide an effective amount of protection.
Right, and a cool, interesting thing, like you're bringing that up, is I know, like especially in the Napoleonic Wars and even through the 19th century, yeah, you'd have a huge battle. You go back to your camps, or you go back home until you were called up again for another battle at a different location or whatnot.
Exactly.
So warfare was just different. Like in World War I, yeah, these guys are staying. Like we're staying here in your face, and the other side's going to do the same. So it's like, oh, easy fucking target for artillery.
Yep.
Easy.
It became about the whole war was kind of like what country could last the longest. You could put in like let's say like what Britain did with Germany. You could do the naval blockade, which is kind of the long, slow constriction till eventually capitulation. And then you have like the actual attacks and the ebb and flow at the front, which would be like the fast punches trying to knock out. And it was kind of which one would succeed first, a whole bunch of the punches or the long-term constriction. And eventually it ended up, in hindsight, being both, kind of. And the fact that Germany pissed away all their good guys in the first Operation Michael and kind of the last end of the war there. But
yeah. And so in relation to helmets and stuff, it's like, so if your guys are sitting there, okay, and they're constantly getting fist fucked by artillery and you know, just harassing fire and just weird things that are going on, you're going to have guys that are starting to come up with solutions. You know, it's going to go up to the top. Like, you know, that's a third guy this week that's died because he got hit in the head by something.
Yeah,
these soft caps just not cutting it. and like everybody thinks the Pickelhaube was a helmet. It wasn't. It's a hat. It's just
it was a hat. Yeah. It was good for deflecting saber blows. That was it. That's what it was made for, was to deflect saber blows.
100 years prior to the First World War, but and Franco-Prussian War and all that, but so, but it was still a hat. It was you know, boiled leather that was more rigid than, you know, the wool of the soft caps of the British and the French and the Belgians. But however, still not effective at all against something that's going to like kill you.
Yeah, it's
You
not
know?
effective against a 20-pound heap of
Right.
earth. So
Right. Yeah, so you just think about it, like how many reports had to actually go up from people that were like, just watch my buddy get killed by a rock, literally a rock, not enemy fire directly, but like indirect fire and a rock killed him. We need to do something about this. Like, do we have skull caps? Can we go back to medieval armor? And then I'm sure, like you're sitting there listening to these guys talk about it, and it's like, oh, medieval armor in general. Maybe a good idea.
Go back to the Knights Ages, yeah.
So then you get that kind of shit. And yeah, the French were, well, I know the Germans had the Geta helmet.
But that was more of a brow plate. That was a design that they transferred over. It wasn't a full helmet.
It was heavier than a Stahlhelm.
Yeah, they were, and most of them were melted down to make Stahlhelms anyways. But the first actual kind of mass-issued helmet was actually just a skull cap that the French came up with to wear underneath the kepi.
Yeah.
But it was only widely issued to officers and non-commissioned officers. Basic line infantry really didn't get it.
Right, because they don't matter,
Yeah. So, but that quickly, transformed into the Adrian helmet, and the Adrian helmet was basically meant to be cheap. It's real thin, chintzy steel, but again, if you can crank them out in such huge numbers and it does the job.
Well, it was
like at the beginning of the war, they talked about how they weren't so sure these helmets were working out because the injury rates skyrocketed.
That's what I was just gonna say. Like,
that's funny. And it turns out that because the injury rates were people that were dying. Yeah.
Yep. And then they're like 75%. What the fuck? We just spent all this money and all this time and all this effort getting all the logistical nightmare of getting everybody helmets.
Yep.
And they're like, well, these people are still alive, and you could probably send about half of those guys back up to the front.
Exactly. So
it's so and then so off of that, what happened after the Adrian helmet was introduced? Like, were the Brits working on the Brody at that point, or do you think that the French kind of inspired them?
It seems to show in like paperwork and research purposes that both the French and the British came to the same conclusion and did their own development. The French just finalized their idea first. So they were probably at some point in production at the same time and in development at the same time, but they had no correlation with each other at all. The Adrian obviously did come first. As far as mass issuing a steel helmet in World War I, the Adrian was the first design. A couple months after that, I think it was 2 or 3, the Brody came off the line, and then 8 months after that is when the Stahlhelms start making their appearance. So,
yeah, and I think weren't the Germans actually working on something right when they saw the French wearing those?
They also were the thing. They did some experiments with it, but they didn't really actually have a development because they thought the Pickelhaube was good enough because people for some reason were stupid in World War I. They're like, we already have helmets. Why do we need, But then they see the effectiveness of the French ones, and that kind of spurred them to jumpstart their program, speed rush it per se into making the 1916.
Which, obviously, there's really no argument that is probably the best design of the First World War. Again, it's not a bigger dick contest because the French, that actual design for what they were going for, the Adrian helmet's really cool because it's got the really wide visor and the liner with the corrugated tin or steel or whatever the hell it was.
Yeah,
it's actually not a bad idea because they understood the whole concept of like the shock when it hits.
They understood the whole crumple zone concept that you needed to give that cushion for your head, because just transferring, getting hit in the head by a rock and getting hit in the head by something that is so close to your head anyways that it's still like getting hit in the head by a rock.
Right.
So in a lot of ways, the Adrian was a bit ahead of the other two helmet designs.
Yeah.
You can obviously oversize the Stahlhelm. They were kind of meant to be a little oversized, which helped as far as giving that cushion. But
and then the Brody helmet, the first pattern, or first, I'll say the first pattern in 1916 with the rimless one. They had the padding and like donuts in there still, the rubber, padded donuts. And then they didn't have the little pieces cut up, but they had the dome pad.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, it's going to sit off of your head a little bit. And then we're going to have the kind of weird leather bowed out design, which was like still thinking along the same lines. And I'm not sure whether, well, it didn't cover as much. Obviously it sits higher on the head, and
yeah, but it also had the purpose that they tested after the war of how when a shell would go off next to you, like not so much the like regular field artillery shells, but when you get to some of the big, huge ones where they throw up that shock wave, it was keeping people from getting head trauma from the shock wave getting caught in their helmet, having that extra space for the shock wave and the pressure to circulate.
I suppose,
so having that donut ring, raising it up a little bit, kept their brains from getting scrambled by shockwave, essentially.
Yeah, so when you think about it that way, like, of course, compared to modern day shit, we all know it's like, yeah, it doesn't compare, but like for what they were going for, and like when you're talking about reintroducing, head protection in the 20th century, that's actually pretty substantial that they thought about that. It actually worked out that way. That's a
well,
pretty
they didn't know about that till after the war because the science wasn't really there.
But still,
the
like
French didn't test it.
Yeah, you're talking 100 years back. They still it was reported and they figured this out.
Well, they believed cavalry through the whole war was going to be the deciding factor.
Yeah, well, it would have been, except for this really cool thing called the machine gun.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, it's even still into today's standards, an army is very well prepared to fight the last war.
Yeah. Well, here's the thing: is when I was in basic training in 2008, this is 7 years into Afghanistan, 5 years into Iraq. Okay, we were still literally doing Vietnam training out in the war.
Yeah. See, you're prepared to fight the last war, and the Germans and the French prepared for a war that was the Franco-Prussian War.
Correct.
Way back in the 1870s,
Yep.
So that's basically like what you see in the American Civil War, for those of you who don't know, where it was you line up and you shoot at each other from like 500 yards away with huge volley fire and cannons and stuff. And that's how war was fought. So that's why you see the French in 1915 in like the Battle of the Frontiers with their officers and their white gloves and their red pants, and they march out to meet these German machine guns in huge lines because that's what they train for. And France historically has always had been the strongest land power in the European continent
for a long time.
Yeah, and so they've always had like the largest army historically, France has. And Britain has always had historically the strongest navy, which is why they had such a huge conflict for like the 100 Years' Wars and stuff like that. But what really tipped the scale is when Germany united after the Franco-Prussian War, and France kind of met their maker as far as land powers go. They were relatively on scale. So,
it was a kind of a clash of titans at that point,
Exactly. It was World War I was more of a Britain was going to come out okay no matter what, because worst comes to worst, the land war fails. They just revert back to naval warfare, and Britain has historically always been okay because they have a giant fucking moat around them.
Well, right, yeah, it's like that hypothetical, like, okay, so war in Europe goes to rat shit, right? Britain pulls back all their troops. Belgians probably come with because they feel sorry for them. It's like Britain's little brother. Yep. And what the fuck are the Germans going to do at that point?
So exactly, but it came down to like, if you take Britain out of the factor, the main aggressors in World War I were Germany and France. All right. And World War I was more of a deciding factor. Whoever won was going to be the dominant land power. They were going to decide basically everything, economically, socially, monetarily, governmentally. If Germany had won World War I, the mark probably would have been standard currency in the European mainland. That would have been like the standard rather than the British pound.
Yeah, which is an interesting thing that it wasn't the French franc.
Exactly.
They so many more. Yeah. Okay.
But after World War I, actually, so many countries adopted the franc based off the French standard because France actually won the war. So Germany would have obtained all of the sphere of influence had they won. And then you probably would have seen more Stahlhelm designs everywhere. You would have seen more German military-based stuff. You would have seen tons of other things from all these observer countries. and it would have
That
been
brings us to a
fantastic,
really
I think,
good
to
point.
see.
That brings us to a really good point. Is like, so it's actually a pretty commonly asked question for people that really don't know, or they're pretty new to the whole hobby, and they don't know a lot about it. Like, well, why didn't everybody just use the Stahlhelm design? If it's the best, if it's all encompassing and all that shit. Well, it's like, well, because like I said in a couple of my videos, it's like Germany after the First World War, man, they were the bad guys, quote unquote, the baddies. Everybody,
Yeah.
they started the First World War according to the world, which that's a whole other debate. I'm not getting into that. I'm not serious when I say that, so don't even like go,
Yeah.
no, they didn't. I know, I get it. But so, that was what the mentality was. Like, Germany started the war, they're the bad guys. They're like they're the Huns, that one speech, and that fucking name stuck forever. And it was like, so we don't want to adopt a military look like the bad guys, So
Exactly.
the US is going to keep using the Brody helmet, and Britain is going to keep using that, and France is going to keep using the Adrian, and other countries are going to adopt the Adrian and Brody. They're not going to adopt the Stahlhelm except for Ireland.
Yeah, pretty much the only people that did adopt a Stahlhelm design were the Swiss, but with their own flair.
Yeah,
and
that's
the
not
Irish in the interwar period.
Well, that's what I just said under my breath. It was like, yeah, except the Irish, the M27 helmet. But
so,
yeah, it's pretty interesting because, like, obviously, yeah, like I said, before, and I'll say it again a million times, was the best design because it's all encompassing. It accomplished what the Adrian and the Brody could both do.
Yeah.
Well, minus the shockwave thing. I'd say that's a disadvantage.
Well, the only people that, like I was saying before we got off on this huge fucking tangent about power struggles and spheres of influence,
that's all right.
The British were the only one that had to deal with the shockwave because their helmet was the only design without vent holes. So the Adrian has that big vent hole in the top. And the Germans had the lugs, so that equalized the pressure differential.
I had never even thought of that. Honest to God, this is the first time that I've ever thought about that. Yeah, you're right. That because the Brody helmet has no vent lugs. Like the top little hole in there is only made so a rivet can go through and be peened. And
there's no airflow. So that helmet refracts pressure so much more than the Adrian and the Stahlhelm designs because of the vent lugs.
Right. So you've got the big. I mean, the vent lugs, they serve two purposes. For the Stirnpanzer.
Yeah.
Shit, my German's fading pretty quick. That fits around the front, the little lug with the leather band. And there's actually a giant ass hole in these things.
Yep. And which, for one was just mostly for comfort, but after the war with all that testing, it gave a way for the pressure to escape. It was like a release valve, basically, rather than taking it all. Because once that pressure wave comes up from every direction and it gets to the top, it's going to force its way into your head.
Right. And if in case you're just joining us, you missed this, we're not talking about a standard artillery shell. We're talking about like the 350 millimeter like mortars the Germans were using, like these siege weapons.
We're talking like the Paris guns, where like the Germans had to stand 100 meters away and electrically fire these guns. They had to have special masks on, cotton in their ears, and fire it with their mouth open, or it would blow their eardrums.
And their ears were still bleeding.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's insane. Like, Dan Carlin did a great actual like visualization when they were hitting Belgium.
Yes. Actually, we should plug that. You guys should go, if you have like podcasts or anything like that, you should go listen to Dan Carlin's Hardcore History, Blueprint for Armageddon.
Blueprint for Armageddon. Yep, that is. The guy's got no credentials because you don't actually fucking need them in history unless you're going to be writing
unless you're going to be creating content. He takes from a lot of well-known historians, and he always takes quotes and personal first-hand encounters, as well as very well-known historians, biographies and papers and everything, to compile all this information and tell it to you in a podcast. Each episode is like 4 hours long, though, and there is 6 episodes, so you're going to need a long time.
That's the thing, is like I broke it up for an hour and a half here, an hour and a half there. But anyway, off on a tangent. He was describing how like when they were kind of like trying to break through the Belgian quote unquote line in 1914, and they brought these fucking like 400 something millimeter just mortars, and they had to stand like 300 meters away. They put cotton balls in their ears as much as they could and plugged them. And this thing went off, and their ears were still bleeding because of the shock. the concussion. So it's like if that thing is doing that when it goes like when it fires, can you imagine when it impacts? Like, and then he was describing like they had this. It's pretty like a mini Maginot line, if you imagine that.
Yes.
In the First World War, and the Belgians were like, "Yeah, they're not going to break through this." And all of a sudden, one of these fucking things comes down, and they could hear it coming for a while. And they're like,
Yeah,
what?
they whistle and stuff. You can even like later in the
Well,
war,
the
people
ground
got so
shake.
good at hearing the sound.
Yeah, the
They
ground
could
shake
judge where it would hit.
and it hit, and they said it was just literally tinnitus, just and just disorientation, and oh god, you taste blood in your mouth for like several hundred meters. And then that's why the Belgians were like, shit, if they've got this, fuck this. We got to pull back or just give up. We're done.
And that's why they blew their dikes and flooded their country. So.
Right. Yeah. And it's like, dude, if I was in that situation, absolutely. Like, it's not cowardice at all. Like, they've got these siege weapons that are like medieval, but with modern technology. Fuck yeah. I'm gonna be out of there.
I look at it as kind of like a heroic sacrifice because Belgium is the reason they're the size they are now is because they've been fighting the ocean for their entire history.
Yeah.
And so now you take all of this farmland, all of this residential area, all this industrial area, and you're flooding it with seawater. All right, what that means is even if you pump the water out, this is such a huge sacrifice. Even if they, after the war, like they pump all the water out, nothing's going to fucking grow there again because of the salt in the soil.
Yep.
Like it was a huge sacrifice Belgium had to make, but
yeah, it's insane, and they. That's why I think in World War II that when they saw that shit coming, they were just like, "Fuck it."
Yep,
like,
take it. Come on in. Yep.
I guess we're done. Like, you know, they just been like in World War One, they got fucked up in every way, and it was like, yeah. So but anyway,
they got left out in the cold by the British and the French multiple times. They got steamrolled by Germany. Everyone showed up too fucking late to really help them.
But they also used the Adrian helmet.
They did use the Adrian helmet.
Yep.
So
they
with the cool fucking lion on the front.
Like a tannish brown.
Yeah.
And it wasn't the horizon blue like the French. So yeah.
So we got a question here that I would like your opinion on. All right. And it was, did the Germans master machine gun tactics in usage before France and Great Britain? Do you think they did, or do you think one country did it better in specific? I guess I'm just going to add to his question. Do you think one country did it in particular? Because I have an opinion about this, actually, and it's backed up by a lot of facts.
Okay, well, from what I know, yeah, and I'll just lay out what I know. I think the Germans did master it because they actually understood what the fuck it was about, and that's why they had overwhelming interlocking fields of fire versus just a line. They figured out that, okay, so in the event that these two positions, well, hypothetical, these two positions get overrun, we've got 3 machine guns interlocking this way and that way through to support them. And that's why I think they actually mastered the early tactics of machine. Well, actually not early, they're still relevant. The tactics of machine gunning before the British and French, because the French machine guns actually were not that great. It's not like that, you know, the Schuster's a piece of shit. It's just compared to the Maxim.
Yeah, we're just saying heavy machine guns here when we talk about heavy tactics. Light machine guns didn't come to the very end of the war, obviously, and they didn't figure them out till after the war. So we're just talking about like the Hotchkiss and the Maxim and the Vickers.
Hotchkiss, the Maxim and the Vickers were good. Okay, I'll give them that. The British had a good tool. I think it took them a lot longer to figure that shit out while they were fighting the Germans. I think they took a lot more casualties, and they probably got a lot more people killed than needed to be by trying to figure this out.
Well, to be fair, both sides did.
Well, yeah, the Germans, I mean, it's not like the Germans had it figured out and perfect.
No, but they definitely caught on a lot faster. And when they realized they weren't going to gain any more ground, they basically, Germany, I'll give them this credit. They did it in kind of World War II as well, where in World War I, once they realized they couldn't win, they're like, well, let's just take as many of them as we can with us. Because they knew they weren't going to win. So there was a point, probably around 1916, end of 1916, where Germany's like, we're not going to win this, all right? Realistically, we're not going to win this. So it's like, how good of an offer can we get at the negotiating table? And by doing that, we're just going to kill an unthinkable amount of people. And that's when you get the fallback and the Hindenburg Line and all that stuff. And huge miles of defense in depth is when Germany decides we're not going to win. We're just going to kill a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So, and that's when they really perfected machine gun tactics. But as far as the beginning of the war goes,
I would say it would go back to 1915. I would say go back. I'd say go back. It went back.
So if we're going to talk about 1915, I know with hard facts which country was doing the best as far as machine gun tactics.
Well, Turkey.
That is, for a lot of people that don't understand it, it was actually Russia. Russia had the most machine guns per company at the beginning of the war. All right.
Yeah.
And they specifically trained their people. So unlike the British and the French, where their idea was, well, it's a machine gun. We'll just put the shittiest shot on the machine gun, because it's a machine gun. And that way the rifle fire, the trained people who are good at the rifle can use the rifle to the best advantage. Russia didn't do that. They took their most accurate marksmen and stuff like that and put them on the machine guns and trained them on the machine guns, and coupled that with having the most machine guns per company at the beginning of the war allowed them to have basically make up for a lot of their failures. Like you see these huge gains in 1915 against Austria and even Germany in the beginning of the war, back before Germany had tons of troops over there, because of these pioneer tactics that they learned fighting the Japanese on the Korean Peninsula in the Russo-Japanese War. So they basically realized how good the machine gun was going to be and had the ability to test it. And I think by I think it was 1916. Britain and France only had 6 machine guns per company. Germany had 8, and Russia had 11 machine guns per company. Yeah, Russia had a shit, and then their best people are using those machine guns. So Russia was, I think, where Germany kind of adopted a lot of their machine gun tactics from, and where they capitulated, they tried to play catch up, and eventually by the end of the war, they got to 10 machine guns per company, and used the tactics that they learned by throwing waves and waves of men into the Russians on the French and the British in the Hindenburg line.
Okay.
So
yeah, see, that's news to me. I'm like, yeah, I don't like. I'm not disagreeing with it. I didn't know that. And
well, people think Russia's this bumblefuck of a country. In World War I, they kind of were, but that was the one thing they got right.
Right, and that's the thing, is that I don't underestimate Russia. I never have, and never will. I just didn't understand that they had 11 per company.
Yeah, it's a shit ton. They had a fuck ton of machine guns. Yeah,
one for every 15 guys, and you figure a machine gun crew is 5 guys, so you've got, it's pretty much 1 out of 3 people are on a machine gun team.
Well, it might be a battalion or something. It was like whatever their measurement was of people. I forget what it was, but Russia had a weird structure back in World War I as well.
Yeah.
So, but it was for whatever their standard was for troops. They had 11 machine guns per whatever that smallest chunk was. So
per company, yeah. It's interesting.
So a lot of people don't know that, but yeah, because Russia failed in artillery, they failed in communications. Basically, the one thing that they had was Russia has been making the Mosin Nagant for almost 20 years at the fucking point that World War I comes out.
Yeah.
So they have billions of fucking rifles, they have billions of fucking people, and
not a lot of money.
They got the machine gun tactics right, but they had no planes, their artillery was uncoordinated and bad, and their communication was awful. So
well, at least they had
machine guns they got right.
Yeah, and it was insane because now that you mention it, like the Germans did the same kind of shit at the end of late 1917 into 18. Like when the Americans got there, the fucking Germans were dug in, like they had so many machine guns. That's the thing, is like we had to figure out how to like go around the flank.
Yeah.
And like, okay, well, if we go over there, then we're gonna hit the next unit. Just like, where the fuck? How do we get past this? Once we got past it, we were okay, and we figured out the pattern that they had them set up in. But like, god damn, just the amount of machine guns they had interlocking the fire.
And they borrowed those tactics from Russia, because Russia, once they started to lose, once Hindenburg and Ludendorff started pushing against the Russians didn't do it to as perfected of an extent as the Germans did in the end of the war, but Russia had fallback lines, and they had lots of interlocking machine gun fire, and they had all this other stuff. but they didn't apply it to the intact because once again their communications and their supply lines and everything were shit. They couldn't field it as effectively as Germany did in 1917.
Right.
But Germany witnessed those tactics, and when Russia capitulated, borrowed that design, improved upon it, and turned it on what was left of the Allies. So,
yeah, and albeit wearing Stahlhelms, Stahlhelme, rather.
that's right.
Stahlhelm. That's a oh, what the hell is the Dinglish? That's what they call it, Dinglish. Deutsch and English.
I don't speak any German, so.
Yeah. Yeah, Stahlhelme is like plural. It means like literally steel helmets.
Yep.
So, but yeah, okay. So we're talking about that, and World War I and all that stuff, and the cataclysm. It was just interesting that like, so I understand there were experimental designs and shit that never got fielded and all that stuff, but like, really, out of that entire conflict, right? You got all these very interesting parties involved, man.
Yeah.
And three fucking designs, three main designs are the only like innovation that came out of there. Think about it. Like that baffles me. Like the Adrian, the Brody, and the Stahlhelm. Weren't there any other like contenders for engineering and design of head protection?
Well, there were, but once again, it comes down to how practical. Because like you look in World War One, before World War One, even back to like the 1500s, the French cuirassiers had their steel helmets. All right, with the big horsehair plume, and it had the neck guard that came down, the articulated neck guard, and it covered everything except for the ears, and it came right down to your brow. It almost looked like a Roman helmet from way back in.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But those were real costly to think of, and to make, and they were more for ceremonial purposes than actually fighting. Even though France actually did fight for them, because the cuirassiers in World War One looked exactly the same as they did back in Napoleon times, 100 years before World War One.
Weird.
So, but that was an impractical design. The French, the Swiss had a design that was also very, very cost effective and elaborate and everything like that. And once again, it came down to the reason that the three helmets that survived. It wasn't that there wasn't other designs. It all came down to that cost per unit. How much effectiveness can you get for cheap? Because the cuirassier helmet covered all your head. It would be great for what it was. It had vent holes, it had everything, but it was the same price as making like 50 Adrians.
So, but the Stahlhelm though was not cheap.
No, it wasn't. It was the most expensive design to make out of all three, but that's something the Germans have always been historically known for, has been, quality over quantity, but in the end, they've lost historically a lot of times because quantity has a quality all its own.
Yeah.
So
that's a fair point. Yeah, no, I get that. It's just, yeah, I think it's a fair discussion because like, yeah, you got three contenders out of how many? I don't even know the number of how many parties were involved in the First World War, like directly or indirectly.
Well, if we get into colonies and stuff like that, it's
no.
There's like 70 fucking contenders, but
yeah, but it's like for the actual people that have like viable engineers, like I know the U.S. had the Liberty helmet, right? That looked too much like the German helmet, but even that was gay. Like that's what the fuck? Like really? That's not an infantry helmet. That's like a fucking knife helmet.
Yep.
So it's like,
and there's plenty of countries in World War One who got along just fine without a helmet. Like look at Japan. Japan arguably came out the best in World War One.
Yeah, and there are 10 fucking soldiers they sent to actually fight.
Well, they took all the German colonies and a huge section of Korea and China.
Most of the Romanian military didn't have fucking helmets either. Bulgaria, they didn't have helmets.
Well, they eventually got German helmets and German aid.
Eventually, but I'm saying like for the majority of the war, like most of these like Eastern Bloc, like Romania, Bulgaria, Serbia, Montenegro, and fucking oh my god, I can't think of it. Anyway, they actually wore like soft caps most of the way through.
Yeah, same thing with the Greek army. The Greek army wore basically soft caps for the whole point. Yeah.
Yep, that's what
Basically, everyone you see on the Salonika front was
yeah.
not wearing a helmet until the last year of the war, except for the French and the British people that were sent there to help kind of
And
reorganize everything. But
the Ottomans weren't wearing steel helmets; they were wearing kabalaks.
Yeah, they're cloth hats and stuff like that. But then again,
Right.
they never had helmets the whole time either. So
You got people commenting on what you just said.
about what?
People commenting, if the Germans thought they were defeated by late 1916, what was the point of Operation Michael in early 1918? Seems
Well,
like
the thing is, they didn't expect Russia to capitulate.
Right.
Was the thing. So when Russia capitulated, they had a surge of men, and then it was kind of a last ditch attempt.
Right.
So they put all their eggs into one basket in Operation Michael, and the basket broke. So
yeah, and then we could do that. We could do the hypothetical, like had the Americans not been there, it probably would have gone on for this many years. Yeah, whatever. Probably would have gone on for like I'd say 3 or 4 more years tops.
Yeah, a lot of people think that if Russia would have stayed in the war and they would have sorted out all the Civil War shit, it would have gone into the 20s. So
I don't think it would have lasted that long.
A lot of people thought 21 would have been the final year. Because with the tactics that were developing as far as offensive pushes and British and French stuff, it would have been about 21. People assumed it would be 1921.
I'll give you 21. Finally ended. I will. But no further. Like
that exactly.
Is like yeah.
There got to be a point, but like you see, that's if you're taking all the governmental issues out of it, like the French mutinies and the Civil War in Russia. If you get rid of all the governmental shit and you look at just militarily, it could have gone to 21.
Their military and civilians were starving in 1918.
Yeah.
So it's like, how fucking long can you do this? I suppose the Japanese.
Well, they could have kept. That's the thing. They could have kept pushing into Russia and taking their resources as they went. Russia's fucking huge and tons of resources in it.
Yeah, but the logistics at the time, like.
Well, it was like after they just fucking destroyed Romania. Romania had shit tons of food stores and stuff in it, and oil, and Germany took all of that. So it would have been like that, but on a grander scale. Imagine if they pushed into Ukraine, the breadbasket of Russia. They would have had tons of food and direct rail lines.
Wow, sounds a lot like World War II. You know what I mean? Like Romania.
Well, Germany basically tried to copy the same exact thing they did in World War I. They just perfected their tactics a little bit.
Right.
So in World War II, they did the same thing. They swung through Belgium and blah, 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 took all that stuff.
It's not a 40. I know people are going to be like, is it a 40? Is it cool? Whatever. Is that Mickey's? No, it's sparkling
It's just water. Yeah, and I'm being cheap as fuck. I'm drinking Dr. Pepper and Grey Goose. So.
Yerp. Hell yeah. The cats are getting restless. Shit.
Oh, is it time to feed them?
No, Christ, no. The Ottomans did have helmets. Yeah, when it was way too fucking late.
Like, actually, a lot of people always use the, like, visorless style helm as a thing. There's actually no record of any of those ever making it to the Ottoman Empire before the end of the war. So.
Oh, so you have a fan, I guess. Jonathan Piccone. Devin, I bought an old World War II mountain ruck and had information handbook Fort McClellan did 1944. Wanted to donate it to you.
Sure. Just find me on Facebook after this, and send me a private message with it, and we'll work something out. So, my name is just the same thing as it is on YouTube. It's pretty easy to find me. I don't have a mustache in my picture though, but I'll take my thing off so you guys can see my haircut. I have the same haircut basically.
Oh, he's got a comb over. This is like little Hitler. This is little Hitler. This is like 1917 Hitler.
Yeah, I'm Hitler, by the way, you guys.
Well, you said it.
Yeah. I'm too Canadian to be Hitler. I'm too nice.
Yeah. Hey, I'm sorry we're gonna have to gas you a bit, but I'm really sorry about this. Really don't mean to do it. It's really not in my intention, but we gotta rid the world of you. Sorry again.
Yeah, the world's gonna be a better place if you just go on with the plan here.
Yeah,
So,
just please step into the shower, okay? Yeah.
yeah.
Thank you very much. Like, I really do appreciate it. And again, I'm sorry.
So, oh, and if you, I don't know if my YouTube channel's linked in the chat anywhere, but people are asking for it. It's here, I could put a comment in. It'll just say
Do it.
here, and you could click on my little chat bubble, and you'll have it. So. So this would be the time if you guys had any questions about anything helmet related or anything, you could post that in the comments, and we'll do our best to answer it. But we'll probably get way off tangent like we have been because we're nerds like that. So.
Speaking of off tangent, somebody mentioned Ottomans did have helmets. What do you think of the very fucking few that were sent to the Ottomans in late 1917?
They weren't enough to change anything or really be of any use. They got less than 10,000. So.
Right? Why did they cut the visors off? Like, I don't understand that. Like the kind of warfare they were fighting.
Well, the thing is, the visors. A lot of people, the general misnomer is, it's a myth, by the way, was that so that they could still touch their heads to the ground to pray without taking their helmet off.
Oh, fucking bullshit.
But what it actually was is more of a problem that the Germans had while they were well, no, like the Germans, you see a lot of, you could see this in reference pictures too, where when Germans would like go on the attack, they would take their helmet and they would turn it around backwards so they could lay down and shoot their rifle.
Oh.
And so what they did was, since the Ottomans were a little smaller, they cut the visor off. And because of how their uniforms were designed to have a stand-up collar, unlike the Germans, they had like a Mandarin collar.
Yeah, collar.
The helmet was interfering with that, so they would cut the visors off of them so they could turn their helmet around so they could lay down and their helmet wouldn't tip in front of their rifle sights.
That is actually way more believable. Because, like, okay, so little like 20-second tangent. I don't want to start a conversation. Pasget versus an ACH. I'd rather shoot an ACH because of that reason. The visor. Yeah. No, that actually I had never heard that before, and yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
But like you've probably seen the pictures and just didn't notice it, but you could see the guys with all their fucking grenades and their bandoliers and stuff.
Yeah.
And their helmets are on backwards.
Yes,
it's a little known thing that people don't see because they would want to lay down.
I thought that was just kind of a fuck around thing for the Germans because they took a lot of like funny pictures.
No, like, a lot of their assault troops would purposely, before they would go over the top, turn their helmets around backwards, because the Stahlhelm, unlike the Pasgat, doesn't have that.
Yeah, the visor.
This, like, relief cut in the back for you to.
Yeah,
down, so the visor was up higher, yeah, and then it also had the effect with the bill sticking out. It would cover more of your upper spinal cord. So if an explosion went off next to you, you were protecting your lower skull and your neck as well laying down because the bill stuck out.
Again, I guarantee you soldiers found that out and not fucking generals that were sitting back.
Exactly. So, yeah, but that's why. So,
well, let's try.
There wasn't there to answer the question. The Ottomans did get helmets technically on paper, but not enough. See, try looking up now. You can look up way higher than if it was the other way around.
Actually, no, there we go. Got over the collar. That's actually okay.
Yeah, see? And then if you turn it around, try that same thing, and it'll bite.
Well, yeah, I'm sure it will, but...
So that's why they did it.
Yeah.
So...
Oh, that's very fucking interesting. So the visor...
So if you see that in pictures, that's why. But no, back to the Ottomans, they did technically get helmets, but they weren't in enough numbers to make a difference. So
yeah, but like I was telling him, like by that time the fighting was way over. They had kicked the
we got a guy from Todd B. He likes the mustache.
Yeah, well, Todd B is weird.
But why Ross rifles are so hard to find in the United States? Because Canada fucking destroyed all of them.
They didn't actually make a lot of them to begin with.
No, they didn't. Canada's army was kind of like the United States' army before World War I, really just there for show.
Yeah, and they used the short Lee. Why would they pay for a rifle to make themselves, besides pride?
Well, the thing was, at the beginning of the war, they had to use Ross rifles because Britain wouldn't give them the rights to produce the Lee.
Sure, but like once they kind of negotiate, like, hey, guess what? We're fighting for you. We're technically Commonwealth.
Yeah,
Give us short leads or give us the rights to produce them. Then it was okay. They
exactly.
actually
Then it was okay, but the shit kind of had to hit the fan first.
they actually didn't give Canada the rights to produce them until Long Branch got that in the 30s, though. You know that, right?
Yep. So, well, they didn't actually, get the rights to produce them, but they got permission to make them.
Right, but they were just using British ones. Like the Canadian soldiers
Exactly.
in World War I were using just British, like BSA or fucking
Yep.
that was the other one, big one.
They did make parts in Canada, though. They
Mhm.
did make spare parts, but the rifles were all assembled in England. You're right. So,
Yeah, which is, I mean, not they go to the same fucking rifle, but I do love my Long Branch number 4 Mark One, just because they actually put a lot of time and effort into it.
yeah, I wish I had one, but the thing is, the number 4s, for one, they've kind of dried up, and for two, they're getting way fucking expensive.
Well, I actually think that's one of the weird surplus rifles that I think is worth it because that's a great bolt gun.
Yeah, they made. Well, Canada's always been known for having pretty good fucking steel for making weapons. So
Yeah, you guys take your time too. That's the thing. You don't like try to mass produce shit because you guys are like, okay, well, boys, this is all we get.
we're relying on our diplomacy, but we got the guns in case we need them.
Yeah, we got to make her count. Let's do this right.
So,
yeah. But yeah,
what jackboots are snug around a person's leg? Well, the thing is, mostly a lot of jackboots historically were custom made, and so you would just get them measured to you. It's hard to find an off the shelf pair that fits you correctly.
yeah, exactly. Like when they were issued jackboots, like the Finns, the Germans, in both World Wars, and Russia, I think in World War One. It's like, okay, you have this size foot, maybe if you're lucky. All right,
Yeah.
close enough. Here you go.
That's actually the reason, like, even the Germans towards the end of the war went to puttees, is because, for one, jackboots take more leather to make, so it was just a cost-saving measure. But it was also because an ill-fitted jackboot, the second you lay down, you're just going to fill your boots with fucking water and dirt and rocks anyway, so you'd have to take them off. So, and the puttees were a way of getting rid of that. So, now Ben Feinstein has a way. What is the best way to ID a Vietnam era M1 helmet?
You're gonna have to be more specific, like a shell, a cover, because I'm wearing one right now. Like,
yeah. Well, historically, if it comes down to the whole thing, is you want a late World War II, post World War II helmets. You want swivel bales. All right. There were no fixed bale helmets in Vietnam. They would not have issued
you
those.
can't say that. You can't fucking say that.
They would have upgraded them. All right. They wouldn't have sent a fixed bale helmet to Vietnam.
Hey, I'm gonna quote Herbert the Pervert here. Never say never.
All right. I mean, there technically could have been, but
no, there definitely
some stuff always slips through. That's the whole thing about military surplus.
Yeah.
Nothing's ever guaranteed. Something will always slip through.
99.9% of post World War II helmets are going to be swivel bale, which is. You want to explain what bales are? You got an M1 handy?
Right, so bales are the little things on the helmet that the chin strap connect to. All right.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah. All right. So there you go. That is a swivel bale because
I got to talk to the camera to be on. So this is a bale. This one moves. Fixed bales do not move. They're welded on. All right, Devin can talk.
And they tended to break. The welded ones did, which is why basically after a year or so of manufacture in World War II, they switched to swivel bales because soldiers were breaking them off. So basically what it comes down to is a shell is really going to be, a Vietnam shell is really going to be no distinguishable from a late World War II shell. Basically as far as color or construction or anything like that goes.
Vietnam, the color changed.
But the liner would be changed based on, it would probably be hard to tell if it was any different from a late World War II one or not. Other than the fact that all the World War II ones, a late Vietnam one would have had like the more modern style of liner where it has the little adjustable clips and stuff like that. It would have had the different nape on it instead of the World War II one, which was just a snap in place kind of rectangle. The Vietnam ones later would have had a nape that came down. little kind of trapezoid thing, and it had one strap and then two straps that came off to the side. That would have been late Vietnam War, and stuff like that. Yeah, like that right there. That Mike is showing. And then it basically comes down to the liner. There'll be a stamp somewhere in the crown of the liner or around the very rim. And you got to just kind of look it up, and you got to look at the orientation of how it was made, because a lot of World War II ones were different and they were discolored. They would have been a more brown color, whereas you see ones in Vietnam, they're more of a lighter tan color, like Mike's example there. So you got it. It all comes down to all this other stuff, and there was obviously little stamps that were made for companies that only made them in World War II, and then after that, there were different companies that made them for Vietnam and Korea and stuff like that. So you really just got to do your homework and do some reading and look for all the little indentations in different colors. I can't cover all of that on here because we could get into it for forever. And there's literally novels and novels and novels about trying to figure out what your M1 helmet is. And I do my best. It's one of the most common questions I get asked on my channel is how to tell what M1 helmet is something. And that's usually what I can't say. I'm like, you just got to read a book. You got to look online. You got to piece stuff together that's close to yours. You got to look for markings because it's so hard to tell what exactly it is just by a picture or something. You really got to do your own homework to figure that stuff out.
Right, and yeah, another thing, like it won't show up right now on my camera. I'm just with the line around why it looks weird. But this is a Vietnam M1 shell, and god damn it, really, like the liner is a lighter green. I don't know if you can see it. It's really blurry compared to the World War II M1 that I have. It's a lot lighter and a lot more kind of frog colored than the darker olive drab World War II example.
Yeah, and another way to tell the Vietnam ones from the World War II ones is you usually see a kind of a larger texture on the Vietnam ones than the World War II ones. The World War II ones tended to have a finer finish.
It's the other way around. The other way around.
The other way around? All right.
Yep, it's the other way around.
Yeah. So the Vietnam ones then will have a finer finish. The World War II ones tended to have the chunkier because they used larger cork pieces in the paint.
Correct. They actually used cork. They used the fuck did they use in Vietnam?
Early ones had sand in them. So
yeah, those were like really rough. But
yeah,
well, they were using the same. They were using the cork sand mixture from the 1917 helmets originally when they came out with the M1. But then they just went to the cork.
Cork was much easier to get, much lighter, and sand tended to just chip off a lot easier. It tended to create.
That's a good idea for a video, though, man. I appreciate that. Yeah. Like, because I got this Vietnam one right here, the shell, and the liner is actually, I mean, it's post-Vietnam, but it's like late Vietnam. And I should make a video on like distinguishing World War II from later.
There's a couple videos out there, but a lot of those people don't exactly have the following that you do. So if you made one, it would be probably one of the best sources of information.
Yeah.
So
just trying to help everybody out.
So then this guy says he has an Adrian without a badge or a bead, but with a riveted comb. Well, pretty much every Adrian had a riveted comb, even the World War II
Italian one.
Huh?
Except the Italian one.
Yeah, but he says it has a riveted comb, but pretty much all the French ones had a What color is it? Is it gray?
Yeah, exactly. Sturmtrupp. Yeah, he's a regular viewer.
Yeah. Because if it's Horizon Blue, whether light or dark, it's probably World War I or interwar.
Oh, he said without a beater, but a riveted comb?
Yeah.
Were the 26s welded or riveted?
They were riveted. So you could have a World War II one.
Yeah, does it have like two rivets on four sides of the helmet? Front, back, side.
Yeah,
like
does it have little pairs of rivets where the liner paddles would go?
Yeah, the liner paddles, yeah. Another fun debate I had on Facebook a while back. It's an M15. No, it's not. It's a 26.
Well, the easiest way to tell the 26 is instead of being in four pieces, it's two pieces. It's the comb and the shell. So,
yeah.
Any other questions you guys have?
Yeah, they'll come out with them. 35. That's not bad. Not a bad number.
Yeah.
Do you think there might be Vietnam web gear on the website? Nope. Vietnam stuff is just really fucking hard for me to get. It's 50. I mean, at least 45 years out of military use. So that's just really hard. That's why I say if you didn't know, I've got these Vietnam jungle fatigues on the website right now. They're only one size. They're unissued, and it was like a miracle for me to find these.
Yes, and behind World War II stuff, another reason all the Vietnam stuff is gone is behind World War II stuff, Vietnam stuff is the most collectible.
Correct.
So, why did I grow this mustache? Because I could. Because I can grow an epic mustache. That's why.
Roger Scott, all caps. Did the French use U.S. gear in late World War II? The Free French? Sure.
The French, yeah. The French basically... in North Africa, what was left of, and southern France, not really the people in southern France, but a lot of the French army that retreated to North Africa, you see them using a mishmash of French, British, and American gear because the British and the Americans are the ones who invaded North Africa. So it made sense to use their supply lines, what with France being occupied. So.
You think I'll ever get Greek lizard camo or Danish M84? I have a Danish M84. I have suspenders. Both very rare patterns to have, especially in probably the size that you want. So, sorry.
Did Germans in World War II ever use American small arms? Not in any large quantities.
But they did at the end, especially in the Ardennes offensive. For whatever reason, they liked the M1 carbine. Which it's not the gun that I'm actually like bitching about. It's the magazines they made for them were horse shit, and especially in cold weather. But they loved the M1 carbine.
Yeah. So like obviously there was small groups that would capture and use ammunition and stuff like that, and a lot of misconceptions. Like I see people like where the Germans are using like the Polish radom, which looks like a 1911. Super close. If you put them next to each other, they're the same size, except the radom is 9mm in the 1911.
That's got a cooler
So
logo.
to somebody who doesn't necessarily know what they're looking like, it looks like a 1911. And that was something that the Germans mass issued because after they invaded Poland, they started using
making took a shitload of them. Yeah, all the mags.
Yeah. They just had their factory keep fucking making them. Yeah. Yep. So they issued those on a huge grand scale. And then they also did the same thing with the high power. The high power is one of the few pistols actually produced in Belgium for both the Allies and the Germans, depending on what part of the war you're at. So, because
I'm gonna go take a leak. You continue on with this rant.
Sure. So, but no, there's a lot of stuff that looks like it could be misconstrued in pictures, as American gear, but it's actually stuff that the Germans made, and it just looks really close. But as far as rifles go, no. Once the Germans kind of started to get desperate, and with the exceptions for like the SS units, because the SS units were kind of early special forces and they cross-trained with American stuff the second they captured it. They also cross-trained with British and French stuff because the SS were not allowed to use German weapons manufacturing. They had to outsource all their weapons to other stuff because the German war effort, because the SS technically wasn't a part of the military, it was part of the government. So it was like an armed branch of the government. So they had to source all of their rifles and everything else from different countries. So you see a lot of SS soldiers using submachine guns like MP-34s, which were made by Solothurn in Switzerland, which was owned by a German company, but they didn't directly produce weapons for the German military in World War II. So you see that a lot in World War II as far as with SS troops using different American and captured gear, as well as stuff that is unorthodox because Germany, the SS soldiers were not allowed to procure arms the traditional way that the German government did. Any other questions?
There's always questions, Devin.
There is always questions. Well, I'm here for answers. I'm surprised nobody's asked about what we're wearing yet. You want to give a rundown of what you got?
Shit about that.
Give a rundown of what I got.
Everybody's like, I saw this. I thought it's all about everybody else.
So, well, I'll go over what I'm wearing for you guys that don't know. I love Swiss stuff. So I have an original.
Hold on for a second. Roger Scott. I saw SS Soldier with the M1 carbine film doc. That's what we were talking about. Ardennes offensive. Yeah, it's a
Yeah,
very.
I covered that. Yeah, too. So while Mike was too, I am wearing Swiss kit. So, so I got the M18 with the World War II cover. It's an actual M18. You tell
The
it has the
autumn
transitional gray paint, the full liner, and everything.
The autumn side is exposed, which is the better
That's a
side.
pretty rare helmet. But then I got my kind of mid to late war Swiss World War II outfit, because when they couldn't make tunics, they cut greatcoats down to be just tunics, and then this is the Swiss intelligence patch for World War II, and kind of slightly after post-war, the gold star. So
Look at that body.
huh?
Look at that body.
I'm like 5'10" and 160 pounds, so I'm very small.
Speaking of Swiss, during the end of World War II with the AA guns, Americans they would use AA guns on American.
Me and Mike were talking about this on a Skype chat actually. Switzerland, the reason they never were invaded in World War II is because they said if anyone ever crosses the border, we're going to shoot you. And Germany never invaded Switzerland for two reasons, basically, and I went over this with Mike. Was because, for one, Switzerland basically gave an ultimatum to Germany when they started invading everyone. They're like, you can invade, but every single one of our adults is a trained soldier. We have mined every railroad track, bridge, tunnel, and mountain pass to just scorch earth our whole country. We'll fight you to the last man. You'll lose an unthinkable amount of people doing it. And there were some instances where during World War II, the Swiss actually shot down German planes on multiple occasions, and Germany got kind of upset. But once again, they're not going to invade Switzerland because you'd lose an unthinkable amount of people. The whole country of Switzerland was basically an army.
Money.
Yeah, and then but in the end, too, when the Americans and the British were going to bomb Germany, some of them would get lost in the night, and they flew over Switzerland, and Switzerland did shoot down American bombers as well. Switzerland, the reason they're given this bad rap on the world stage as being a bunch of pushovers and stuff because they don't fight in wars. But the thing is, nobody's ever going to invade Switzerland because they have such an aggressive defense policy. So they're not pushovers by any means, and they never have been, going all the way back to medieval times, basically. Swiss mercenaries were some of the best in the world, so much so that the Pope hired him, and the Swiss Guards, which is where the Swiss Guards get their name, the Vatican City pays royalties to Switzerland to have the Swiss army protect him. Switzerland stopped selling mercenaries a long time ago. There's only one place that still accepts Swiss mercenaries, and that's the Swiss Guard for the Pope. They are all Swiss citizens and have extraordinary military records in the Swiss army to even participate in being a Swiss Guard. So, do you know about the WZ 2005 helmet? We have that as a question.
Okay, so let's get unknown or whatever 42069, regular viewer, regular customer. He's gonna want you to say that it's super rare and that it's worth a shitload and that they'll never be in the US and that's awesome and that it's whatever.
Oh, well, I hate to disappoint. They're more common than you think, and they're basically a copy of the Schuberth, is all that they are. They have a slightly different liner and chin strap setup, but they're basically an 826 Schuberth, unfortunately. So, Cossacks in the German army in World War II. I don't know anything about that, unfortunately. So, yeah.
Yeah, it seems to me like from what I've seen, about half of them, or about 3/4 of them, were just like, leave us the fuck alone.
Yep.
And some of them actually put on German uniforms with insignia and all that shit. Well, kind of. And
yeah, I know some kind of made allegiances, but Cossacks have always historically kind of had loose allegiances, and they could kind of leave and go whenever they wanted to, even to Russia, who they were historically a part of. So,
Roger Scott, all caps. Was the Waffen SS the first fighting force to invade in World War II?
No.
Oh my God.
So, no, that would have been the Wehrmacht. And the thing is, lots of people like to do with the SS, but the SS was such a tiny, small percentage.
Exactly.
So the brunt of the fighting done in World War II would have been the German here of the Wehrmacht. So
Yeah, the SS is like, well, most of them are foreign volunteers, the Waffen SS at least.
yeah,
And
you see a lot of Finns, a lot. Yeah, the biggest majority in the Waffen SS were actually Finnish troops, who was a loose connected ally of Germany in World War II, just because they both, not really that they were allied, but that they both hated Russia. So
the enemy is my enemy.
exactly. And then, Finland not really was an ally. They fought this thing called the Lapland War towards the end, because Finland actually fought 3 wars over the course of World War II: the Winter War, the Continuation War, and the Lapland War. And the Lapland War was actually where Finland turned on the Germans and pushed them back into Norway, out of their country. So
J'aime for Norge. That means fight for Norway in Norwegian.
yeah. So thanks again on the mustache. Thank you. Mike doesn't like it, so I'm gonna point out all those comments.
Well, no, I'm pissed because I can't grow one.
Have you tried?
Yeah, I have tried. Kurt,
Like even grooming it like different ways?
I can't grow one to groom it, so.
No.
Well,
I grow an impressive beard and mustache.
What exactly happened when he beat up an SS officer? I don't know. Google it. Like, we've got Google, man. Like, not trying to be an asshole, but like, I know you'd like to hear.
We're more of surface historians. We're not getting into depth. I don't know about every SS soldier ever in World War II. I know a lot of stupid shit that I probably shouldn't, but I don't know that much detail about every soldier that ever served in World War II.
Yeah, Knitspil. Great Panzer Commander. That's all I know. Like, I'm not like all knowing, and I'd like, I know you'd like to hear me talk about him, but I don't know. You're gonna have to Google that.
Yeah, you'll have to do more research into that story yourself.
All right, so I'm learning a lot more about the Winter War from Indy Nidell on World War II channel. Oh, the Great War is finished, so Indy Nidell is going on the World War II channel. Weird.
Yeah, well, that was a giant collaboration they actually did with a bunch of other different channels. So it's going to be a huge project. But yes, I know a lot about Finland in the World War II. In World War II, it's one of the few things I don't have it here, but I got the whole ensemble, and I got some of the medals and insignia and stuff right here actually for Finland in World War II, as well as like the fur hats and everything like that. So a good amount of stuff. And yeah, Finland is historically a country where my family comes from. My family on my mother's side comes from the Karelian Isthmus region, which was at one point Finnish and then later Russian. So the Karelian Isthmus, is me and Mike were kind of talking about this, is kind of like, if you've ever seen 300, it's like the hot gates of the north.
You're so fucking Canadian. You can't even pronounce isthmus.
Isthmus. Sorry.
You leave all the S's out. Oot.
Isthmus. You gotta say it like you have a lisp.
Lift. A little bit like loafers here.
But no, I really like Finnish World War II stuff. So.
No, as do I, but I'm not like a.
Somebody's asking about the elf thing in all the recent videos.
The elf thing? What elf thing? What the fuck are you talking about? So yeah, I do. I did reenact World War II. I did Romanian because I'm a hipster, and I just think they're very underrepresented on the Eastern Front. 500,000.
One of the coolest things I've seen you do.
Dude, 500,000 Romanians were involved in the Second World War. About 140 to 200,000 of them actually made it back.
Yeah.
So they lost a lot of their military force in World War II.
Just like for World War II reenacting, I do a lot of World War I reenacting though too. You've probably, if some of you guys have probably seen some of my Russian World War I kit, but I do Swiss World War II and Finnish World War II. So I haven't got into Germans or American or anything like that. I went for underrepresented as well. So.
Yeah.
I did hear about the Swiss Guards getting rid of the steel helmets for the PVC ones. That's actually going to be kind of a good change because they tend to suffer from the same problems that the British Guards have, where their uniforms are so heavy and so hot that they're just collapsing. So
PVC is better. Yeah.
well, yeah, you're wearing a 9-pound fucking helmet on your head and huge plumes, and you're wearing a thick wool uniform and a polished steel breastplate. You're not.
Yeah, but let's make it a 4-pound, toxic steel or toxic helmet. Yeah, let's do that.
Yeah. So, whatever happened to Dakota?
Dakota's working. You should ask him. Message him on Facebook. Blow his shit up.
Yeah, tell him that he needs to be on the next live stream with us.
What's the name
of your website?
Mike's Military. Oh, just type it out.
Yeah. So
I'm surprised. Like, there's a link. Military. Yeah. There's a link on my Facebook, or not on my Facebook. I don't have Facebook anymore. There's a link on my YouTube, and I've put it in literally almost every description and video, like saying it. Yeah. Okay. But there it is. It's typed out. Mike'sMilitary.com. Go check it out.
talk about Swiss mess kits. Which one?
I have them. The pretty much the 1931 version that they haven't changed.
Yeah, that's the same until today. They basically changed the color. That's all that they changed. They were green and then they were black.
Yeah, they're pretty much a German World War I mess kit, and they realized that bigger is better.
So well, there is one distinct feature that you can spot a Swiss mess kit from pretty much everyone else's, is they're D-shaped instead of kidney bean shaped. So they have one flat side.
Yeah, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, no, they're just good though. Like they're big and they mean business.
Yeah, they hook together really well. They're really quiet as far as mess kits go. Mess kits make a lot of fucking noise. The Swiss ones with all the straps and everything that they have, they're really quiet, which is one of the things that appeals me to them too.
There you go. There you go. You got a comment. Roger Scott says, "I love that rifle."
Thank you. It's my mint condition Finish M39 side mounted sling. It's all matching except for the floor plate. But most of them have a non-matching floor plate anyways because they went to anti-jamming floor plates after the war.
And it's funny, never fired, only dropped once.
I doubt this one was ever fired until I bought it. So
yeah, no, I was just the whole like French
thing. Yeah, I love French guns. Oh my god, people don't understand how innovative France was at killing people.
Oh my god. Okay, so have you noticed the recent trend in like AR-15s and shit? The flat triggers.
Yeah.
Right. The French had that figured out on the Labelle 1886.
Yeah.
They had that figured out 150 or 140 or 30 years ago. I can't do math. I already told you this, but
yeah.
Had that shit figured out.
The French have always been ahead of the curve on everything small arms.
Right. And the MAS 36, man, the reason I was able in my video, it's a really old video I did a few years ago. I actually went out and I tested it like, okay, let's put this thing through like a combat setting, like bounding and then shooting and actually hitting your target.
It's a real agile rifle. It's super fucking short too.
Very short, low recoil for the power of the caliber, right?
Yeah.
It's a bigger ass 308, and the thing performs so well. The sights, they're bulky, they're battle sights though. They're like they're not meant to be.
They're not meant to be making hits over like 400 yards. That's like the max they went out to. They were realistic.
Right, and the thing doesn't recoil. It's super fucking smooth, easy to operate. And I was putting more rounds like on target, like a good hit with that rifle than pretty much every other military surplus rifle I've ever done that little cord on.
And the reason people don't buy them, because they're actually still relatively common, people don't buy them because they do readings and they see reviews of them, and people bitch about how they're not accurate because they're rear locking lugged.
Bullshit.
But the thing is, you shouldn't be using that rifle if you're trying to make a hit over like 300 yards anyways. Go buy anything off the shelf at Walmart and it'll be more accurate, right?
That is a bolt action rifle that I would actually, like, in a shit hit the fan situation, take into combat today.
Exactly. It's probably one of the best designs out there because the French did everything on it to be no thrills. Nothing on it never needs to be really maintained. Nothing on it ever fucking breaks. It's really easy to clean and disassemble. It's super light and super short, and that's what they made it to do. It does the job they made it to do. And the thing is, who cares if the sights aren't like this where they go out to fucking 2,000 meters? You don't need that. I don't need to shoot somebody in the next fucking county I can't even see.
Right.
So,
yeah, no, exactly. It's the French firearms. So let's see. I've got a Lebel 1886-93.
mm-hmm.
I've had a Berthier, but the stock was duffel cut, aka just somebody fuck around with it, and I got rid of it. But the Berthier was great too. And
did you have the 3-shot or the 5-shot one?
Both at one point. And so anyway, so I've had that, and then so anyway, the Lebel, which is their mainstay, and then the Moss 36, okay, the Moss 4956.
Mm-hmm.
All of those rifles are excellent battle rifles.
They're good. Like French historically is always, like I told you before, and if you've been in the stream the whole time, historically the best land army. And that's even going into today. They're historically still one of the best land armies, potentially, if on a rating scale. And going back even all the way to like 1800s, France has been setting the curve in arms design. Look at the Minier ball. Everything before that was a round ball.
Yep.
That you either had to fit so perfectly to your rifling, and this was something that you could. The Minier ball was so ahead of its time because it was so small. You could slide it right. You could basically drop it down your rifle, and it would expand to meet your rifling.
Yep.
That was way ahead of its time. Invented by a Frenchman. Smokeless powder. Invented by a Frenchman. You know.
We had the 8x50 rimmed Lebel cartridge, they call it. The first smokeless powder cartridge ever adopted by a modern military.
Mm-hmm.
Very effective round. Like, I actually, that round, I've made videos on it and didn't get a lot of views in the past, which is fine. But
well, they used it into the 50s for machine guns, so it must have been good.
The thing is, with that round, I gave it to people that, I gave my Lebel to people that had very little, like, long distance experience, right? And we had a range set up where we had 150 yards, 200, 300, 500, and 1,000 set up. Okay. And I told them how to use the sights and everything, just basic, like, whatever.
Well, they're very easy to use because once again, historically, because
and so these people, I was like, okay, hit that 150, and they were standing up, which is your least stable position. They're standing up, and they went, ping. Of course, the round itself was there right after you heard the shot. That thing doesn't travel fast, but it hits so hard that yes.
Yeah.
And then I go, okay.
And then I don't want to get into ballistics with people about like these World War I countries and like all of them were grossly overpowered for what they needed them to do anyways. So it doesn't matter.
And it's funny because, like, yeah, same guy. I was like, okay, the 150 you hit, 200, try and hit that. So he racks the bolt, goes forward, ping. He's like, holy shit. I'm like, yeah.
Yeah, the French got this shit figured out. So
flat trigger, and then 300, and then we did 5, and he hit the 5 after 3 shots standing up, and then he couldn't hit the 1,000 standing up, which I had a hard time doing too.
Yeah, well, no, 1,000 meters is hard to hit prone. So
yeah, so
for most people, but
yeah,
I love French firearms. And one of the reasons I bought this Mosin is because it's a French receiver.
It's a Châtellerault, or
it's a Châtellerault receiver on my M39. Yeah. So.
Yep. I'm sure I butchered the fuck out of that because French is elusive to me.
Yeah, it's a very dirty kind of slurry spitty mouth language.
Yeah, it's just that I don't know how to pronounce a couple of their letters.
Yeah.
German, I got that because I took formal classes on it. But yeah, but no, the French firearms. That's what I was trying to kind of convey on my channel a while back. Is man, those fucking things are amazing.
Yes. Now there's one guy asking you specifically a question. Did the enemy use World War II weapons in Iraq? I know they had Mosins to some degree.
They had a shitload of K98s. They had PPSH 41s. They had Tokarevs. I didn't see any Mosins, but yeah,
I've seen pictures of Mosins, but they were quite rare. So
yeah, Mosins are. Russia didn't really get down into like Iraq and stuff, but Germany sold a fuckload of K98s to Iraq. So did the Persian Mausers are there, those long ones.
Well, a shit ton of them made their way into the Middle East after World War II anyways. Like, people don't know this. The IDF, right after World War II when Israel was formed, was primarily using German weapons, which is kind of ironic. So.
Jonathan Piccone, yes, I was in Ramadi in 05. They had Sterlings. Sterlings are British. And weapons
Sterlings, yeah.
MG42 or MG3? Well, Afghanistan, we're not going to talk about that. Like, Afghanistan's got every fucking weapon.
Yeah, Afghanistan they have Martini Henrys they were still shooting at people it probably a couple days ago. So they've got muskets made back in like the 1700s that they were still shooting at people in modern times too. So
yeah, oh, here the comments light up. Everybody's an expert now.
Yeah, there was the thing is, like I said, back when after World War II, the Israelis were using primarily K98s and MG42s against all the countries attacking them just after they got formed in the 50s. Yeah. So,
well, that's the thing I was going to ask Roger Scott was it an MG42 or an MG3?
MG3s are modern, so.
Well, 1950s.
Yeah, but they have a box that can hook under the gun, whereas the MG42s had a box.
Well, yeah, but how are you going to know if it's an MG42 or an MG3 if you've been to Iraq 15, 16 years ago,
Yeah, so.
I used to have a Master 6 slow. Yeah.
Yeah, they're getting up there in price, so.
Yeah, I was born about 10 years too late. Like, I fucking wish I would have gotten into the game a lot sooner.
I know, right? So I don't own a lot of surplus weapons because they're real expensive, and helmets have kind of been my passion because helmets are cheaper than guns. So I only own a few surplus guns, and my I like bolt guns. I also like a lot of muzzle loaders. I like really, really old stuff. So because muzzle loaders are actually coming down in price because nobody fucking wants them. So if you want to start getting into surplus collecting, go out and buy a fucking brown vest because you can get them for $200, $300. So
what?
Yeah. People are even making repros of them in parts again because they're gonna come. Nobody wants to do black powder muzzle loading anymore.
I would love to get a brown vest for $300.
They're out there. So, one thing I really want to get as far as muzzle loaders goes, I want to get a Swedish Kammerlader, because that was kind of a step ahead as far as bullet technology goes as well, because at the base of their chamber they had a big spike, and so what you would do is you'd pour the powder in and it would go all around the spike, and you'd ram the bullet down, the soft lead bullet, onto this spike, and it would create a cone in the back of the bullet that would expand when you would shoot. And so they were kind of ahead of the game a little bit. Might be something to read about, Mike.
Sounds like a fucking shot to pull.
Yeah, so. But it was still like a flintlock fired rifle, and then eventually they went to percussion cap and stuff. But no, it was just kind of a technological advantage there. British World War I gear. There used to be a lot of good sites that made it and stuff like that. And they've recently come back online because everyone's jumped on the bandwagon with the 100th anniversary of World War II ending and stuff like that. Not World War II, World War I and stuff like that being the last couple of years. There's been a bunch of World War I stuff come on the way, but nobody really does a good reproduction. But they you can, if you're willing to shell out the money, the British used the World War I type gear and like the same thing the Canadians used and everything up until 1938. So you can find P08 webbing that's original that was made in the 30s for still relatively cheap as far as it goes. So,
Mike, did I like Sand Hill? The fuck kind of question is that? It sucked. Like Sand Hill, Devin is like Fort Benning infantry basic training and AIT.
So, but yeah, I like muskets. Muskets are the way to go, and I like bolt guns. So,
Well, shit, you probably jizz in your pants in my bolt collection.
yeah, I've seen some of the rifles you've had in some of your old live streams and stuff like that when you used to sit in your gun room.
Yeah.
So, and you and Dakota would just talk about bolt guns and stuff. I wish I had unlimited money because I'd go out and buy like a 1903 and everything like that. But
dude, the 1903 I got, honest to God, that was even like a surprise for me because the one I have is worth, well, today about $1,500, and at the time it was worth.
Because you got one of the humpback ones, don't you?
No, I've got an all original July of 1918 Rock Island Arsenal, like or Armory, Rock Island Arsenal Armory. 1903. It's literally all original, straight handled bolt, not the swoop back one. Everything's fucking original to it, and I got it from a guy that I guess wanted to get rid of it, and I told him, I was like, well, I'm going to use this for reenacting. I'll be very careful with it, and you know, I just kind of need an example because our unit had 1903s in World War I, and he was like, well, what unit? I was like the 32nd Division, you know, Wisconsin, Michigan National Guard. He goes, oh my God, I love that. This guy's from Alabama. He's like, I love that unit. It's a great history. And I'm like,
you're like, I'll trade you some shit for it.
Well, I was like, can we work on a deal, you know? And he's like, how about 700 shipped? I was like, yep, working the money out right now.
Yep,
So
sold. Take my money.
Yep. And I got it, and I actually went out and shot it. That fucking barrel is still mint, crisp. And I was hitting targets at 500 yards consistently. So yeah, it's insane.
What would you say your favorite American rifle is?
Of all time?
Yeah.
Probably the M14.
I'd have to say Craig Jorgensen.
5-round capacity, shitty to load in combat. Excellent. Like if you're sitting there target shooting, sure.
Yeah. It's all about the history, though. I like the history and the development process behind it.
So. Well, it's technically not an American gun, though.
You're right. It's technically a Norwegian gun, but
yeah. So, well,
but and the fact that it was very short-lived, it only had like a 9-year service life. So.
Well, no, it didn't. It had like a 30-year service life. Reserve units.
True.
Like so the Wisconsin National Guard, the 32nd, before it was the 32nd, they were it was the 1st, 2nd, and 3rd, and something other Wisconsin Volunteer Infantry Company, you know, militia pretty much. And we got mobilized in 1916 to go down to the border with Pancho Villa and all of his bullshit.
To do the whole Mexican Revolution shit.
Yep. And so anyway, we got federalized, and the feds issued us new 1903s and 1910 haversacks, all that gear. We had Craigs up until then. There's pictures of units, early units getting into France in 1917 that it still had Craigs.
Yeah, railway engineers. Yeah.
Right, and then
I like the Craig. It's a real smooth action. I like how
the smoothest,
fucked up and weird it is. It's great,
dude. I'm not saying that it's not a good rifle. I'm just saying.
No, I know it's a bad rifle for the standards that it was held to at the time. That the late 1800s, early 1900s were such a huge progress for rifle development that.
Well, the Mauser, you're facing the Mauser, you're gonna lose.
Exactly. So, but I like it just for the history behind it. Not that it's necessarily a good rifle. The same reason I like the Mosin Nagant, because of the history behind it, not necessarily because it's a good rifle.
You asked me the best rifle the U.S. has ever used, and I'm like, what rifle could take out any situation the U.S. has ever been involved in since its inception? M14. Like modern.
Yeah, if we had to pick one for the best situation historically, if they were like, we're going to throw us in anywhere, M14.
Yep. All right. So I guess we went off a tangent. Mike, when we were in country, I said this in my videos a lot. I was there in 2009 to January 2010.
So,
Iraq.
I have an 1898 Craig. So for
Yep.
yeah, 1903 A3s are pretty much they're getting up there as to be really really high too. So
Oh, Jonathan Kone. Some of the Tennessee National Guard units during the invasion still had A1s and trench shotguns. Fine, cool. It was funny because our unit, the unit I was in, like a couple years before I was in it, was attached to the 278th Armored Cavalry out of Tennessee, and they still had grease guns. Our unit still had grease guns because we were.
well, they issued grease guns up to Vietnam. So
I'm talking early 2000s. They had grease
really,
guns.
they had those in Armory in 2000.
Yep, because we were a mechanized unit.
Well, I suppose yeah, you guys don't need to make as many M16s because it's not like the guys in the fucking tanks and everything need fucking M16s.
Right. Yeah. So it's kind of weird that the unit I was in, about let's see, 6 years before I was in, still had grease guns because they were a mechanized unit. Oh, you're drinking out of a canteen cup. That's classy.
Yeah, well, I figured we're being historical, so I have my USM 1910 canteen cup. So I gotta grab another mixer though, because I'm not gonna drink straight Grey Goose, or I won't fucking get up.
Why the fuck would you not drink straight Grey Goose?
Because it tastes like paint thinner.
Oh. All right, I'll try to answer some more questions. Jonathan Piccone, yeah. 278th ACR hit. Shit, my dad was deployed with them in 2004, 2005. I went to Iraq, and then I got in later. We had them on any recovery vehicles. They had them in Desert Storm. Yeah, I understand that. Roger Scott, why is your name in all caps? Like, why do people do that?
Yeah, it's whatever. So, some people are just weird, Mike. You know, I've stopped trying to guess. It's not worth my effort. Changing it up, going for the Kelly helmet.
Oh, so I'll change it up too. I'm not going to change the jungle fatigues because these things are goddamn comfortable.
I know, right? I might have to take mine off because mine's fucking wool and meant to be a winter greatcoat, and it's getting kind of.
I'm going to switch to an earlier M1. That's what I'll do.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, I don't got too much else that's really cool in your vicinity that's historical. I got modern shit. But...
Shit. No worries.
Yeah. Unless you guys want to see like probably our most popular video type of helmet that we've had. That'd be we were kind of both the first people to do the ECH. I got an ECH. So.
You really want to talk about that fucker, don't you?
I have a line on getting these. So because I dated a girl who worked for fucking 3M, and her dad is a lead engineer at 3M. So
you're still on good terms with him?
Yeah, I mean he's a pretty cool guy, and I still talk to her sometimes. She's pretty decent. So I could get him. Brand new, as you can see. Not even beat up. Nothing. I even got the cool tested Coyote Brown neck guard on him too.
Yeah. Definitely had those in 2009 in Iraq. But so was it like a size extra small?
This is a large.
So you're saying
I've got two larges right now. So
you got a small little body and a fucking like giant ass head. Is that what you're saying?
Well, it's just that my head is so wide.
Yeah,
so that's why I have to wear a large, is because my head is so wide. Like I can't fit into a medium because my head is so wide.
Okay, I'm gonna go up to the comments. Mike, are you glad to be out? Does the Tin Man have a sheet metal cock?
That's what I hear too, general consensus wise. So
how did you fare during the portal from hell that we got? My face is windburned from today shipping out orders, going to the post office. I fucking hate cold weather. It sucks. It's my dad's YouTube, and someone else had it was just lowercase. Okay. Soylent Green, message retracted. Good stuff.
Yep. I really like the cold for you guys that know. So I
Holy
love winter.
fuck. USMC at 1371. It's your Hamlin Marine, bro. Motherfucker, how did you find my YouTube? Dude, I don't have Facebook anymore, but you can still message me on there. Fucking message me, you clown. God, nah. I had a good time when I was in school. A very, very good friend of mine. We had a lot of really good debates, and people thought we were like yelling at each other, but we had like
That's
awesome.
the best kind of debate when you get kind of heated with your people.
Man, this guy's intelligent. We had good talks. He's a real bro. Good guy.
Are any of your surplus ballistics helmets in size large? Every single one of my helmets I could wear. I don't buy them unless I can wear them. You gonna sell any PT belts, Mike? Hipsters are into that shit now.
Are you fucking kidding me?
That's what hipsters are wearing now. They're wearing PT belts like around.
You gotta be horse fucking me.
No, seriously, like look it up. Like huge fashion designers, like Abercrombie and Fitch and everything. They're selling PT belts for like $500 fucking dollars.
Dude, if I hated hipsters before they were a PT belt, I'm gonna just claim PTSD and fucking go to the VA. Like,
yeah, no, there's hipsters and they're fucking wearing PT belts. Military's always been cool in fashion, but I never thought fucking PT belts would be in there.
Dude, those fucking things.
I know, right? PT belts. You're gonna see it one day. Living where you live, you're gonna walk around and I bet you fucking see somebody that wears a fucking PT belt just around. Like their shirt tucked in, their plaid shirt tucked in with their fucking lime green PT belt on.
I'm kind of getting nauseous you just fucking saying that. Like, that is just fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, it's rough. So.
Oh, God. Oh, the Super Bowl's tomorrow? I could not give two shits or a fuck less.
Yeah, I got shit to do tomorrow because I fucking work all the time, and tomorrow's my first day off. So, do you have any ACHs for sale, Mike?
You see them on the website?
He's asking if you have any on the website. So go look it up. Google it.
Google it.
Google it. Well, the kids in the interwebs nowadays, they should be smart enough for that.
Were there any brothels in Iraq? I'm fucking sure, like...
All right.
Does the
As
Pope
long as there's people somewhere, people are going to find a way to bang anywhere in the world. So...
Mike, remember the days when PT formation was cold and one Blue Falcon had shorts and shirt and everybody had to strip down? Well, it wasn't in a unit with a bunch of dipshits. We were all like bundled up to the max. If it was cold. But yeah, if there was somebody in shorts, whatever, it was gay like that. Yep, let's do the fucking minimum. I was in the guard. They don't do that. No PT. Yeah, Grant, I was going to be like, oh, I was active for 2 years during peacetime. Fuck him.
I was active for 2 years during peacetime. If you're active during peacetime, you're not active.
Right. Well, they still hold this like fucking magical bullshit. Army reserves. Yeah, during peacetime, probably.
Well, that's fine. The U.S. is never at peace for very long, though. The U.S. has been in almost a continuous state of war since they existed. So,
well, he's just pissed because, like, he was reserves. Like, he's just pissed because I get state and federal fucking benefits for having been deployed as a National Guardsman. Like, he's just mad because of that. Like,
well, then fucking join the National Guard. That simple. Why the New York National Guard patch was a rainbow? Probably some reason.
it's not the New York National Guard patch, but the rainbow was actually the signifying of artillery, infantry, and cavalry coming together in a rainbow.
Yeah, because that's the colors: red, yellow, and blue.
Right, and they got half their fucking unit destroyed in the First World War, and the 42nd became half the rainbow. So it was actually pretty badass, more than you fuckers would actually ever be able to do. So,
because isn't the New York National Guard Division the N and the Y that's like all combined together with the stars and shit?
no, well, no, that's one of those. 26th.
The other one's like the Statue of Liberty, isn't it?
Well, no, that's a 442nd. That's different.
Oh, okay. There's a guy that's asking a question. What do you think about the WZ-29 rifle compared to the Kar 98?
This guy's like a fucking Eastern Bloc communist fanboy. So, like, obviously the WZ-29's got better sights or this, that. You don't want me to say that, but like, K98's a fucking great rifle. So I'd say they're both.
Yeah. Well, to be fair, most soldiers are dumb or drafted anyways. So throwing a illiterate, person who doesn't want to be there and is probably poorly trained because the side wants to win more, together they're basically the same rifle. Who cares? Because you could have the best rifle in the world, but if you put it in the hands of a conscript, it's not the best rifle in the world. So
yeah, trust me, we go way back. He knows he annoys me, but he keeps.
Well, I'm surprised at how calm the comments actually are.
Yeah, actually, well, it's because there's only Jesus Christ, there's 42 people watching. Wow.
Yeah.
That's insane. Oh, what about
I think next time if we announced it, people might come in larger numbers.
Well, yeah, I think we should make this a regular thing. But
let's do it.
Literally, I'm gonna read this. What do you think of Zastava importing their own guns now? Don't give a shit. I love their guns. Keep it coming.
Guns are good. Any gun's good as long as it works.
I'm reading an old guns and ammo article of a LERP in now I'm rocking a VZ58. VZ58s are amazing. They're not AKs. They're actually better. Czechs make the best fucking weapons. End of story.
Yeah, like the Scorpion. One of the things I'm most familiar with, the mountain troops in World War II that the Germans had almost exclusively had Czech-made rifles. So the Czechs make some awesome stuff. So
who's watching from Osceola? I want to know. Who the fuck are you?
It's Dakota.
Well, we're talking about civil defense helmets. Yes, they're very common, not worth as much, and nobody really wants them. Although I think they're cool, and you should think they're cool. You can get them for cheap. Have them in your collection.
Yeah. Civil defense helmets, technically what you could do is you could always just spray paint them to look like a regular one. Don't try to pass it off as a real one after that. But if you want something to get in your collection for cheap that looks relatively close, you could buy a civil defense helmet and spray paint it.
The USMC 1371. Kyle, if that's you, message me on Facebook. All right. I believe it was called.
What happened to you drinking and cig smoking live streams? Well, we're currently
never cig smoking live streams. Kyle, if that's you, fucking message me.
UN helmets, do they ever come on the market? Most UN helmets aren't actually painted blue, it's just a cover.
Yeah,
So
and
there are some examples that are painted blue, but those are pretty rare, and
dude,
most people don't really want them.
I had some M1 covers that were blue a while back, and
Yeah, so
should have done it.
Yeah.
They were sold out.
What's your thoughts on the Israeli Orlite Kevlar helmet?
Cool helmet. Never ballistic tested it. Looks nice.
From what I understand, they didn't do so well ballistically, so because of their shape. But no, it's as far as the 3 early composite helmets designs, there's really only 3 composite helmets designs that came out really at the genesis, and that was the Orlite, the Mark 6, and the Pazgat. So you can get UN covers on eBay, so they're usually quite cheap. They do turn up sometimes, though.
Okay, yeah, it is my buddy. All right. Mike, do you like the Special Forces fast helmets?
I don't really like the fast helmets design. I kind of like having more coverage.
Did your name Mike?
Tokarev or Makarov? Tokarev. 7.62 by 25 is so much better than 9 Makarov.
All right, so I'll answer it. No, the fast helmets, for a very specific fucking purpose, maybe, if you're not relying on it for as much, but for average infantrymen, fast helmets are for faggots and airsofters. Sorry.
Yeah. You want, in everyday battlefield situation, you want the more coverage, to be honest. So, and then this guy's asking which is better, the Makarov or the Tokarev.
Tog, for sure.
Yeah, that's what I said, Tokarev. 7.62 by 25 is like a great cartridge.
I love what a smartass you are. Grantham.
Nope. Rather be a smartass than a dumbass.
His ears exposed.
Yeah, but you could also hear. So there's trade-offs. There's trade-offs with everything. So I don't want to be super operator. If I was ever thrown into war, I just want to live through it.
That's a good goal. Like,
so
respectable for sure.
Yeah. So there is one thing though. I'm not a fan of the M16 cartridge. I'm a much more higher caliber, higher velocity type of guy. So I really like 7.62 NATO. So
Well,
I'd much rather have a 308 rifle than an M16. So.
Well, then why don't you convince your Canadian counterparts to not go away from the C1A1?
Because diplomacy is better than fighting people in Canada. So we just make friends with everyone. But yeah, no, fun fact, Canada was actually the first country to adopt the FAL other than Belgium. So they started that whole NATO craze.
Shit. And then,
yeah, I like the FAL. The FAL is one of my favorite rifles.
FAL is fucking amazing. I love that thing. Like, I'm gonna probably build about 10 more of them before I die.
So I'd love to have one. So, but I have to fill out lots of extra paperwork because I live in a very liberal state. So.
Oh, the kitten. Kitten is angry. Come here, dipshit.
Did you ever do the ballistic test on the Mark 7 helmet?
I have not yet. Again, if you've been reading the comments and listening to my videos, it's been 50 below zero here.
Yeah, it's been cold as fuck here in the north. Like,
hey, even if I were to have the frozen balls of like living on Hoth to go out there and do that, the helmet would not perform at all the same as it's supposed to. And
exactly.
B, realistically, no, I'm not going out there when it's 50 fucking below. That's too cold.
So, will you ever make a video showing your full helmet collection and how you display them? I get asked this a lot as well.
Yeah. Well, I try to do about 90% of them, and nobody watched it really. They're just like, oh, it's fine. So,
For me, no, I'm never going to do a full collection thing because all that video is going to do is get comments of people trying to describe which one they want to see closer up. So I just do them all individually. They get their own videos. So starving kids in Africa would have eaten those helmets. I bet. So if the Ebola and the AIDS doesn't get them first, right? Armies hardly ever fight that much during -50 weather. Well, you've obviously never seen Scandinavia, Russia, and Canada. So
when the fuck do they ever fight?
they take specific days when it's super cold like that just to train in case there is a fight on a day like
Oh,
that.
good for them. Glad I don't fucking live there.
Yeah, so no, those are the guys that are like the king of the Arctic. Basically, like if you look at Sweden, Russia, and Canada, those are kind of the kings of the Arctic warfare program. So
excellent.
Yeah. Surplus Gorkas. Are you ever going to get any of those?
Oh my God. Everybody always asks about Russian shit. If it's hard for you to get, it's hard for me to get. Customs is the reason. It's not like I don't want to get Russian stuff. I love Russian stuff. The KGB and their customs are very involved with who's exporting what military stuff and where. And the current war in Ukraine is really a lot of shit from being exported.
So it's much easier for you to just go on eBay and find somebody who's selling it and buy it yourself. Yes, the shipping's going to be high, but the thing is, it's not going to raise any red flags in custom if you're buying one. Whereas if Mike tries to buy in bulk, the FSB is going to be like, "What the fuck are you doing?"
So, they're still the KGB. They change their acronyms every 40 fucking years. They're the same as the NKVD. So, like, let's be honest.
Yeah. Yes, I'm Devin Krueger, the guy that you only see my hands in the video. That's me. This is my face. This is the first time any of you are seeing my face, in case you haven't made that connection yet. So.
Did I already get surplus AK-74 wood furniture? Yes. www.google.com. Anand's got me. He's got me beat. Yep.
So,
fucking A.
Google it. You should post this video I don't know if you can record it or anything and post it up or not, but
it's gonna be on my.
You could watch it later if they haven't seen it, but.
Oh no, it's gonna be on my channel. Like once we end this shit, it's gonna be on the channel forever.
Okay, good, because then people could watch it and get some more stuff, and we could get some comments because we need to make this a regular thing, get some more people on it and stuff too.
Well, actually, over 40 is actually a pretty good number from what I've usually had.
There we go. I'm glad my numbers can help pump you up a little bit, even though I have like 1,200 subscribers. So,
1,200? Oh my God.
Yeah, I've only got like 1,200. I haven't caught any of your success. I've had a couple people come over, but no.
1,200? Can I blow you? Like, that's a lot.
So I've only got 1,000. You've got like 30,000 almost.
Yeah.
I've got 1,200, so.
This is the only reason he's sucking my dick, guys, is because I've got the whopping number on YouTube with the crippling number of 30,000 or around 30,000 subs.
I wouldn't say that, but no. We got a lot of like-minded issues, so. Yeah. Opinions on history and shit, so.
But yeah, Anna, you're annoying as fuck, and you drive me nuts, but you are an original fucking viewer. So, 98 Knives. Oh yeah. I answered a question on one of the videos. I've seen your pistol reviews. What 9mm had the least recoil?
The heaviest one.
9x19. I don't know. Least recoil, probably the Jericho. Maybe it's just what I feel.
So the heaviest one. That's normally how it goes. You want to feel less recoil, get a heavier gun. Yeah, no, the infantry in the Finnish army in World War II, they definitely got fucked. Their army's real small, the Red Army's real large. So, but once again, it goes to they held their own because quality over quantity, whereas the Russians have always been about quantity. The Finns were all about quality. So,
You're about quality.
I'm a big fan of quality over quantity, but once again, history has kind of proven that quantity has a quality all its own. So that's a quote by Napoleon for you guys. If you ever hear me say that, Napoleon is the first person that said that quantity has a quality all its own. That's back when he used to brag about killing 30,000 Frenchmen a month. So.
Very cute. You just killed my stream. You just killed my fucking stream.
What? Because I quoted Napoleon because I like French people?
Yeah.
I actually hate the French. The French can blow me. I hate them. But I like their culture. So. Do you guys use any older military rifles to hunt? Finnish Mosin. Right here. It's my hunting rifle. So.
Yeah, you guys like all these questions. Like, I hate to say this, but I'm getting kind of tired. So
yeah,
whatever.
I'm kind of fucking pissed drunk. I've had a quarter of a bottle of Grey Goose over the course of the stream.
He's 110 pounds soaking wet, but
yeah, I'm a lightweight. So
a lot of these questions, honestly, guys, like just go through my older videos and they'll be answered.
And go through my videos too.
Yep, Devin Krueger is his name. I have it in the title. Literally his Facebook username. Go through, check out all of his videos.
I just put a comment that says I'm here. You can click my little face bubble and it'll take you right to my channel and go and subscribe if you want to do that. If you don't, I don't care. I just do it because I have spare time to do it. So, but if you want to learn something, I have a whole bunch of helmet playlists and other surplus as well. Or if you like shoes and you're weird like me and you like shoes, I got a lot of shoes. So.
Ooh, we got shoes going on.
I got a lot of boots. Yeah. I don't know if you know this, Mike. I make shoes. So.
Yeah, but we'll talk about it later. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. This will be the first of many. I'm going to try to do this every Friday from here on out. So thanks for watching, everybody. See you next time.
Take it easy.